Hey everybody, good afternoon and welcome to today's episode of PhotoBiz Live. This is Danny from the PhotoBiz team, and today we're going to be joined by a PhotoBiz veteran, Joanne, and she is going to be talking about 10 different tips on how to make a successful website checklist. And she'll be going over things that can really help out with the final outcome of your website and its overall success. So there's a lot of great information in today's session, so be sure to take notes on this. We are going to have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar, and that will be held by using the question and chat tool inside of the GoToWebinar software. If you're on Twitter, you can jump online and use the hashtag PhotoBizLive, which will clump all of our questions together. And if you hear anything interesting or a tip, use that hashtag so people can find out where you're learning that from, or be sure to share the link to today's webinar. So if at any point during the webinar you have any difficulty hearing Joanne or myself or seeing the visual that we have on the screen, just use the comment box and let us know, and we'll do our best to troubleshoot that issue. We also are going to be recording today's webinar, and it's going to be available for replay on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/photobiz, so be sure to subscribe when you're over there. Like I said, again, go ahead and get ready to take some notes because Joanne has a great presentation for you. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Joanne.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Joanne, as Danny said, and what I'm going to do today is go over a list that we have kind of put together as sort of 10 tips for a successful website in a checklist format. And what this is kind of is a kind of a rundown of some best practices that will help you increase the odds that your website will be successful and do what you want it to do, which is to get the word out about who you are and what you do and what you have to offer. So what I'm going to do first, before we start talking about these particular tips, is take a look at some of the stats that we've dug up about websites and how many there are out there. According to Netcraft, and Netcraft is a company in the United Kingdom that every month does kind of an informal survey of active websites. And according to Netcraft, in any given month, there's approximately between 630 and 650 million websites out there with a minimum of 14 billion pages. And that includes 240 million plus domain names. There's some other info that I want to kind of pass along that I don't have on here, but just to kind of give you an idea as far as when people are looking at websites, 55% stated that even out of their favorite brands, a frustrating mobile device, sorry about that, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. So additional info, when people are jumping on your site, what are they looking for? 74% want directions or hours, 64% want contact info, 61% want product info, and 50% are making a purchase. So when somebody comes to your website, chances are they're looking to do business with you. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is your site mobile friendly. Google did a survey last year of mobile users to kind of try to find out what sort of things people were looking for and wanted out of mobile sites. 67% of mobile users said that they're more likely to buy a product or use a service if the site is mobile friendly. And 61% said they were more likely to leave the site if it wasn't mobile friendly. 55%, as we talked about earlier, stated that even out of their favorite brands, if they found a frustrating mobile device experience, it could actually impact their opinion of the brand overall. So bottom line is, customers contacting you on their mobile devices are looking to make immediate contact. So what constitutes mobile friendly? The three main things that people talk about as being friendly to a mobile device: fast loading. A number of variables can affect the load time of your site that you don't have a lot of control over, like network speed or location if somebody's on like a 3G or a 4G, but they're not getting very good signal. But there's some things that you can do to bring your load time down. For example, you can avoid having very large galleries. You can use the image clipboard that we provide with our PhotoBiz sites that will allow you to use an image in more than one place, because once an image is cached, it loads faster. You can split long pages up so that, like for example, if you have a text page with a lot of information, you can consider breaking it up into a couple of pages. That makes it a little bit easier. It also makes it easier for mobile-friendly navigation. If you limit scrolling, that is a very friendly, mobile-friendly format, because people don't always have large screens when they're using a mobile device. If they're on a phone, for example, if you're limiting the amount of scrolling up and down and sideways that they have to do, that makes the site a lot easier for them to use. Another thing that you want to do is make sure that there's quick access to contact information. You want to have clearly visible links that are clearly labeled and easy to get to. Let's take a look here at one of our sample sites, and this is our one of our sample site content pages. If you look on the left side, you'll see that the Contact Us link is right there at the very top. It's very easy to see and get to. And then when you get to the Contact Us page, the prime information that somebody might be looking for, your hours and your phone number, is up near the top, and that limits the amount of scrolling that somebody would have to do in order to find that information. This particular screenshot was taken on a Nexus 7, by the way, so you can see that even with the slightly smaller screen, all your information is right there, and this site is very mobile friendly. So our next point that we want to talk about is your logo and branding consistent. In a media-saturated world, your brand is pretty critical because you use it not only to build recognition and trust with your customers also look at your brand for what it says about themselves. So let's take a look at some important things to keep in mind about branding your site. First thing you want to do is build recognition. Building a brand does more than just give you a recognizable graphic for your letterhead. Again, it tells your customers something about themselves, what their tastes are, what their interests are, what you provide that appeals to them. A consistent and recognizable brand will give your customers a reminder of exactly what it is that you have to offer that they like about you. Convey your style. Keep your branding, your design style, your color, your font choices, etc., consistent with the market that you're trying to reach. You want people landing on your site to get an immediate sense of what you do. For example, you might want to use some fun fonts and bright colors if you market to families with small children, or if you specialize in corporate portraits, you might want to go with more subtle colors and sort of more elegant designs to appeal to that business person market. The next thing you want to keep in mind is to be consistent across channels. Your website marketing is often more than just your website itself. If blogs and social media play a part in how you present yourself to your current and potential customers, you want to make sure that your logo, your colors, and so forth remain consistent across all of the different ways that you market yourself. So for example, you can brand your email by making sure that you can email with your domain name so that every email you send reinforces your brand. When you set up, for example, on social media, you can usually have a cover photo. Make sure that that, again, reflects your colors, your brand, and your style. Customers expect customization. When somebody visits a site, they want to be grabbed anymore. They don't want to see something that looks generic. They want to see something that expresses your personality and your business and see what sets you aside and why you stand out. Personal touches to your website show that you care about the packaging of your product. So try kind of like a pleasing and complimentary custom background, for example, with your site. If you use color shifting, you can make sure that you select colors that kind of reinforce that look and that feel that you're going for with your website. Your logo design can really make a big difference. If you're using a text header instead of a logo, I would definitely encourage you to consider either creating a logo for yourself or having one created. There are a lot of companies out there that will work with you to create a logo fairly inexpensively, all the way up to finding a professional designer. So logo, color, font, the next thing you want to kind of look at in terms of making sure that these things are coordinated. If you have a logo, make sure that your website colors match or complement the colors of your logo. Be conscious of your font selection as well. Your font should be saying the same thing about your website that your imagery and your logo and your colors and so forth do. You know, like for example, again, if you're marketing to children, fun font, marketing to seniors, you might want to go with something a little more edgy. This all comes down to don't dilute your brand. If you have too many conflicting styles and colors or font choices on your site, your brand ends up looking kind of scattered, and that can really dilute the message that you're trying to give with the visuals of your website. It's important to develop and use your brand as part of your overall communication method that includes your email marketing, your social media, any print materials, and just the whole package of the way that you present yourself. The next thing that we want to take a look at is your domain name, and that is your domain name simple and easy to remember? make sure that, or your domain name is actually one of the most visible parts of your site. People often see your domain name before they ever even see your site if they find you on a Google search or they're looking at some of your advertising. You might want to try following some simple guidelines that can help you ensure that your domain name enhances your online presence. For example, make sure your domain name is easy to spell and make sure that it's easy to remember. And you want to be really careful with domain names that might have some unexpected visual impact. Sometimes a domain name can sound completely professional when you think of it and when you buy it, and then you take a look at it in the browser window and suddenly it doesn't really look the way you expected. A really good example of this is the website for a company called Choose Spain Limited. And Choose Spain Limited does vacation rentals in Spain. When you get to the website, however, you can see that when you see the whole website name spelled out with all lowercase letters, it looks like Choose Spain. So be conscious of that when you choose a domain name, of how it looks when you see it without capitalization. The next tip that we want to talk about is do you have easy to find contact info on your site? A customer looking for a website about what you do is looking for someone to do business with. If the customer can't get in touch with you, they can't do business with you. So make sure that your contact information is easy to find on your site. Accessible contact information does a little bit more than make it easy for your clients to find you, because it also tells them that you're invested in being contacted and in doing business with them. Consider including your favorite form of contact in the footer of your page. If you prefer to be reached by phone, include your phone number. If you're out in the field a lot, you prefer email, make sure to include your email address. I know a lot of our sites allow you to customize your footer, and it's a great place to put your contact information so that it's right there on every single page. You also want to make sure you clearly label your contact page link and place it on the base navigation so it's easy to see. You can use your contact page to build more detailed content information, such as your phone, your email, your address, hours of operation, and that sort of thing. On our contact pages, our PhotoBiz contact page allows you to use a form. However, you do have the option of turning this form off. One of the things that you might want to keep in mind when using a form contact with email is that there are some email providers out there that will filter form-based emails as a spam preventative. It's less common now, but it will still happen from time to time. So if you feel like you're not really getting all of your email from your form, check with a few friends, have them visit your contact page and send you a message. And if you're not getting those emails, consider you can turn the form off and just format it as text on your site. So you have some options there for making sure that you're easy to contact, but you want to make sure that it's easy to find and that it's really understandable. In this demo page, you can see we have a contact page link that's right on the base navigation, and there's also a telephone number right there in the footer. In this way that you could this way the customer sees the phone number on every single page. The next thing you want to do is kind of take a look at your navigation and make sure that your navigation is user-friendly. Your navigation is one of the more critical parts of your site because you need to make it easy for people to find your content once they get to your site. So take a few moments, kind of plan out what you want your visitors to see when they visit your site, and then make it easy for them. To give you some tips, provide a simple menu structure that people can follow easily. You can use drop-down menus to group content in ways that make sense. The next thing you want to do is use intuitive page names. It's good to be creative, but you also don't want to be so obscure that people might not understand what your pages are for when they look at your menus and they try to decide where they want to look at your site. So the other thing is make it easy for people to get back to your home page. With the PhotoBiz sites, that's generally pretty easy. The home page stays right there. You want to make sure that that it's easy to get back there, so your home page should be clearly labeled and so forth. Remember the 3-click rule, but use it wisely, and this is really important. The 3-click rule generally says that if somebody can't find what they're looking for on your site within 3 clicks, chances are they're not going to find it. They're going to navigate off your site or give up. I want to take a couple minutes and kind of elaborate on that here, especially if you're using an e-commerce site. In general, people will tolerate more than 3 clicks as long as they feel their clicks make sense. So the 3-click rule is a good overall rule of thumb as you're structuring your navigation, but when you're building your product categories and so forth in your e-commerce site, don't let blind adherence to this rule motivate you to group your products in ways that are not intuitive or that create huge clumpy product categories that are too broad to navigate easily. So when you get to where you're building your e-commerce information and your product categories and so forth, keep in mind, as long as each click is leading your customer somewhere that obviously is going somewhere, people will generally tolerate more than 3 clicks. Okay, the next thing that we want to look at is, do you keep your site up to date and relevant? And this is a really important thing as far as content on your site. Once you've got your website all set up and you've got all your images and your info about who you are, that's kind of your starting point, because somebody will come visit your site, but you want them to come back to your site. And particularly if somebody visits your site and they're thinking about maybe going with you, but they're looking at other businesses as well, if you have content that you keep fresh and interesting, that's a motivation for them to come back and revisit you, and that's going to give you more exposure to them. Some tips for doing that: rotate out your galleries. It can be a particular temptation, especially if you have a lot of really great images or you have a lot of products that you offer, to create a huge gallery because you want people to see everything that you have to offer. In general, though, your slideshows shouldn't be any more than about 3 to 5 minutes long tops, because that's kind of the longest that most people will stay with any one slideshow page. So instead of creating a large gallery, select about 10 or 15 images that you really like and then swap them out about once a month, so that if somebody comes back to your site next month, they're seeing new content they haven't seen before. They're going to look at that and say, well, geez, I'm going to come back next month because there'll be new stuff to look at. So consider creating a specials page or a news page. A calendar page on a portfolio site works really well for this as well. You can create a page with text information that talks about what you're doing. If you have some sort of monthly special, you can list monthly specials on this particular type of page, and then that gives people something to come back and look at, and it keeps your content fresh. Another possibility, if you don't already have a blog, is to consider starting a blog. We offer some really nice social media friendly blog integration abilities, but there's also some really decent free blog solutions out there that you can link to as well. The main important thing a blog does is it gives you a place to display images and content more in depth, where you might be able to talk a little bit more about what you were doing when you took that image, or what your impressions were, or what that whole experience was, and it really connects people to you. There's also the added thing of a blog really helps with your SEO presence, because it's a very text-rich type of content. The next thing we want to look at is, are you displaying your best work? First impressions are everything, and your website will be the first interaction many of your potential clients have with you. So it's really important that you want to put your best foot forward. Some different tips for doing that: handpick your best work. Select some images that you feel really showcases your strengths and what you're good at, for example, or what makes your business really unique and memorable. The next thing you want to do is kind of organize it by subject matter. So, group your images together so that your visitors can focus on their area of interest. This is really important, especially if you handle or you do more than one type of photography, or you have more than one type of product or service that you offer through your business. You can do this by creating drop-down menus that function as categories to group things like, for example, weddings, and then commercial, etc., or different types of products or services that make it kind of easy for people to focus right in on what they want from doing business with you. Arrange the images in a logical order. Putting images in a logical order so that there's a visible beginning, middle, and end to the gallery gives a sense of coherence and tells a story. This is really true with event galleries, but even if your focus is like landscapes, or you have products that you sell, you can kind of create a sense of a storyline that draws your viewers in and engages them So you can order them by time of day, or you can order them by, size or whatever. It's a logical progression. It draws your customers in like a story. One of the most engaging websites that I ever ran across was from a photographer who had created a gallery of images from a trip that she had made to Ireland. She started out with her photographs at the airport and then proceeded to arrange the rest of her images by places that she had visited in terms of their antiquity. So it really told a story of her starting in the modern time and then going back in time and seeing these things that were progressively older. It was very engaging. So you can really create a sense of story through the way that you arrange your images. And then show them off. PhotoBiz sites come with a lot of tools that will really help you set your images off. You can use our color shifting technology to accent your images, for example. You can use captions to kind of drive the sense of story along. Keep it all consistent with the color and style of your logo, and that's really, really a strong and unique sense of your brand. So the next thing we'll look at is, have you optimized your website for search engines? And I know that we've recently had a whole series of webinars on this, so I'll just touch on it kind of lightly. But good SEO is all about good content that is easy to find. That's the two main things that you're trying to do with your search engine optimization. So clear descriptive website titles, strong keywords, targeting the audience you want to reach, an informative and concise website description all contribute to your site's search appeal. There's, like for example, with your quality keywords and description, you want to limit your keywords to 10 or 15, maybe maximum 20, that really focus in on the market that you're trying to reach, and make sure that they're targeted to your specific market. If they're too generic, it broadens your potential audience so much that it dilutes your marketing efforts there. And then of course your description, you want to have just a couple sentences about what you do in an About Us format, because that's going to display with your name of your business in search results. And if your description really gets the word across in just a couple easy sentences of who you are, that's going to give you better click-through appeal. Unique page titles with your PhotoBiz, all of our different sites, you have the ability to give each page its own unique page title. And even if you don't change your keywords or your description for each page, give it a unique page title, because that's going to really differentiate it in your search results. Google Analytics, Google Webmaster Tools, these are excellent tools to use to understand your site traffic and how your site looks to search engines. It's really, if you're not using them, definitely urge you to use them. They're very easy to add to your site. Our support people can help you add them if you need a hand with that. The main thing being is that it will really truly help you to understand your site's impact in your market and where your traffic is coming from. It also lets you tie it into, I believe, AdWords if you use ads on your site, so, or if you advertise for your site elsewhere on Google. Relevant content, easy to find. Again, these are things that are really critical. You want to make sure that your site offers good content that your people who are going to be coming to visit your site want to see, and that it's easy for them to get to. These are things that all kind of help with your rating, as well as your organic search results on the search engine. So the next thing we'll talk about is, do you have an engaging About page? Your customers want to know who you are and what you have to offer. An About page is a great way to provide that information. Some info that you can include on your About page: who are you? Talk a little bit about yourself. When did you decide to do what you do? And what do you love about what you do? You can even add a picture of yourself or something that speaks about who you are on your About page. How did you get here? What drew you to this form of business that you're providing? What inspired you? What keeps you going? Those are all really good pieces of information that kind of help. Again, they help share who you are. And your mission and your philosophy. What do you want to accomplish? What drives you? What's your approach? In the end, your web page or your About page needs to be all about you, because that's going to be the place where you can really kind of showcase who you are and what you have to offer and what really makes you unique. And again, that's kind of what drives your business. Let's take a look at an example of a really engaging About page. This is one of our customers, and he allowed us to use him for one of our sample sites. And as you can see, it's an eye-catching picture. It's humorous. It conveys a sense of warmth, and then he's got information about who he is and what he does and so forth. So it really draws somebody in if they're looking to try to understand if you're the right fit for them. This is going to really convey a sense of who you are and what you do, and drive that business. So Okay, so the next thing we'll look at, and that is, have you integrated social media with your site? Social media is a powerful tool, and I know that we're doing a webinar here in a few weeks that will talk a little bit more in depth about that. But social media is a powerful tool for getting people talking about you, talking about what you're doing and talking about the kind of things that you're up to. Social media is really great for allowing or putting in some information about you that might not be appropriate on your website in particular. Like, for example, if you're involved with projects or you're involved with groups that aren't directly connected to your business but that you feel are an important part of your overall who you are in terms of your business, social media is a great place to talk about that. Excuse me, include visible social media links on your site. Integrating social media into your website gives you and your customers the tools to do just that, and that is to basically connect with you. As you set up your social media on your website, remember that you want to focus on your brand and make sure that, again, like we talked about earlier, consistent across all of your channels, make sure it all looks well, matches together, and so forth. And then the last thing you want to talk about is have a share button. And that is so that your visitors can share finding your site with other people, and that kind of helps spread word of mouth and allows them to kind of help with your marketing efforts and so forth. We offer on all of our sites have a lot of easy-to-use social media tools that allow you to integrate your social media outreach efforts into your website solution. You can even upload your own custom social media icons on a lot of our products. And if you want to learn more about how to take it to the next level, we do have a social media bootcamp service, and we'll teach you what you need to know and how to set it up and how to keep it going. So basically that's the checklist, just kind of, like I said, a series of best practices to kind of help you focus, make sure everything kind of looks pulled together and professional and conveys what you want it to convey about who you are, because you want to reach people who are looking for what you have to sell. And these tips will help you to do that, to focus your efforts. Now if you have any questions, you can tweet your questions using the hashtag on the screen, hashtag PhotoBizLive, and we'll go from there.
All right, everybody. Well, I just also wanted to see if you wanted to submit your questions right here through the chat tool. So you can do that, again, just by going inside of the chat tool and clicking on the chat area and drop us a note. And as your questions comes in, we'll do our best to answer them in the order which we receive them.
Okay, and our first question is from Kim Hankerson, and Kim asks, should we list our studio policies on our website? It's a really great place to do it. You can create an about page that talks about that, and this really gives people an idea of what to expect when they come to your studio, and what to expect in working with you on that. So yes, that's absolutely something that you should do. Okay, and our next question from Claire Troutman. How many links between the website and the blog are appropriate? There's really not a hard and fast answer to that. You should have an individual link, of course, on your navigation to your blog, and you certainly should include a link to your site from your blog. You can, if you have information in your blog about specific products that you're talking about or so forth, you can link to pages in your site or in your content to those specific things as kind of a context. It's contextual in that sense. But as far as just straight links, you really only need like one that's visible pretty much from all your pages, like on your main navigation, and then you can link to individual products, issues, services, things, and so forth, just straight from there. So, okay, and we got Steve. I'm going to say Zabel, has some questions about SEO, and Steve, what I would do is direct you to contact our support people, 866-463-7620, and they're there Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We have some SEO people that will be more than happy to talk to you about that and give you some hints and tips. And then we have our next question, Frank Pepini. Should we list our prices on our website? In terms of from a best practices standpoint, there's no right or wrong answer to that. A lot of it comes down to how you focus and how you market your business. I know that for some people, they really want to see the pricing and so forth, but other people feel like, they don't want to indicate their pricing until somebody's contacted them. That, whether or not you should put it on there is completely a personal choice. Just kind of consider it in the context of your business and who your target market is and how you feel they will respond to that. Okay, and Kim, hi Kim. Kim Hankerson has another question, which is how many images should we have in each gallery? I would definitely recommend limiting to maybe 10 to 15 per gallery and swapping them out periodically. Not only does that keep your content fresh, but most of the time just kind of looking at people's website usage through Google or Google's surveys that they do. And that is people don't generally stick around longer than 3 to 5 minutes on any one gallery page. So if you have kind of more high impact images and you rotate them out more often, you're more taking advantage of the fact that people tend to not stay on one page for that long by giving them refreshing content to come back to. So that would be my suggestion there. Okay, and we have a question from Michael Napier. And Michael is in the process of switching from a Flash site to an HTML5 biz site. And it is very different. The design interface is different. What I would suggest doing, if you want to kind of get a look at some of our favorite sites and sites that really work well, you can always call in our support team. Again, 866-463-7620, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And just talk to anybody here on our support team, kind of let them know what you need, and they'll be more than happy to give you some example sites to look at and talk to you about ways to kind of get a quick understanding of how it all works. Okay, and then we have a question from Heidi Welshens, who says, if I'm rotating out images on the site, should I alert people through other forms of social media? That's a fantastic idea. Letting people know that you have some new content and new information available for them is really a great way to get them coming back. And so that's an absolutely excellent idea, definitely. In fact, that's probably one of the better uses of social media in conjunction with your website, as well as talking about things that you're doing. So. Okay, and Connie, hi Connie, has a question. Should us oldsters, should we restrict any of the platforms we've acquired through the years and so forth? If what you have is working well for you, there's not really any reason to restrict it. As far as, I would say, if this is working well and you feel like the results that you're getting from these older platforms are working really well for you, certainly continue to use them. When new platforms come out, and we're always introducing new products and services and so forth, you can always kind of take a look at them and see, do you feel like they'll work well for you. I know with our HTML5, one of the things that makes HTML5 nice, especially if you're starting to get a lot of customers who are on mobile platforms and mobile devices, is that it's much more friendly and it's much easier to see. So if you're feeling like maybe the HTML5 might work better for you, could be a good time to switch. If you're feeling like you're getting what you need out of your site with the Flash, there's no harm in staying with it. So our Flash sites actually do perform fairly well with SEO. So don't even have to worry about that. So okay, and then we have a question from Vala. And Vala says, if we switch to HTML5 from basic HTML, do all the settings automatically go over, or do you have to re-enter all of it? We do have an import feature that will allow you to import some of your content over. Not everything comes over, but your images do and most of your text and that sort of thing. What I would suggest if you're thinking about switching to HTML5, which I think is a really great switch to make, those HTML5 sites are fantastic looking, give us a call and talk to support, and they can kind of coach you through the process and let you know what will be moved and what won't be. And that number again is 866-463-7620. But yes, you can import most of your content over. There's quite a bit you won't have to re-enter, some that you will. So we try to make it as easy as possible for you.
All right. Well, I wanted to thank Joanne again for today's presentation. We are out of time today, and if you do have any additional questions, like Joanne mentioned, just feel free to give our support team a call. We're here for you. We'll be more than glad to answer any questions you've got. I hope you guys were able to take away from today's webinar some great tips for building a successful site. I know there's a lot of ideas that Joanne mentioned that you may not have implemented yet, and if you need any assistance with that, we'll be more than glad to help you out with that. We are going to have a webinar in the future that I'll be hosting, actually coming up soon, about social media. So I look forward to seeing you guys in that webinar. If you want to learn more about tips and tricks for using Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Yelp, Instagram, the whole 9 yards, I'll help you out with that. So I look forward to talking to you guys then. Again, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a great day.